Before we dive into this heartwarming story of unexpected love and second chances, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Today's tale will remind you that sometimes the most beautiful families are born from the most unexpected encounters. Enjoy the story. The 42nd floor of the Thornfield Medical Technologies building hummed with the quiet efficiency of success, but Marcus Thornfield felt nothing as he signed another multi-million-dollar contract. At 52, his angular face bore the weight of 8 years without genuine laughter, his steel-gray eyes reflecting the emptiness that no amount of money could fill. "Congratulations, Mr. Thornfield," his assistant chirped, sliding the executed documents across his mahogany desk. "This brings our quarterly revenue to $2.8 billion. Marcus nodded absently, his platinum Patek Philippe watch catching the late afternoon light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. The numbers meant nothing anymore. They hadn't meant anything since that rainy Tuesday in October when a drunk driver had stolen his entire world in a single devastating moment. As the office emptied and the city lights began to twinkle below, Marcus loosened his Italian silk tie and stared at the framed photograph on his desk. Isabella's radiant smile beamed back at him, her arms wrapped around 4-year-old Aria, both wearing matching pink dresses for what would be their last mother-daughter photo. 8 years, he whispered to the empty office, his voice barely audible above the building's ventilation system. 8 years since Dr. Isabella Thornfield, the most brilliant pediatrician Manhattan had ever seen, and their precious Aria had been taken from him. 8 years of breathing but not living, of existing but not feeling. The penthouse apartment awaiting him held no warmth, only expensive furniture arranged by an interior designer who specialized in sophisticated bachelor living. The silence there would be deafening, broken only by the hum of his wine refrigerator and the distant sounds of a city that never slept while he rarely did. Instead of heading home, Marcus found himself walking the busy streets of Manhattan, his $5,000 Armani suit drawing curious glances from tourists and invisible acknowledgement from fellow New Yorkers who recognized wealth when they saw it. His feet carried him without purpose until he found himself standing before the iconic facade of Bloomingdale's. The department store's warm lights spilled onto the sidewalk like an invitation he didn't remember accepting. Marcus pushed through the revolving doors, stepping into a world of commerce and dreams where families shopped for memories he could no longer make. The irony wasn't lost on him that a man who could buy the entire store was wandering its aisles like a lost soul, searching for something he couldn't name, hoping to find what money couldn't purchase. As he rode the escalator toward the children's section, Marcus had no idea that in just a few minutes, his carefully constructed walls would begin to crumble at the sound of 5 simple words that would change everything. "I'm just looking, sir." The children's section of Bloomingdale's sparkled with pastel colors and tiny mannequins dressed in miniature designer outfits. Marcus stepped off the escalator, immediately feeling out of place among the strollers and excited chatter of young families. The familiar ache in his chest intensified as he passed a display of pink tutus that would have made Aria squeal with delight. That's when he heard it. A voice so soft it was almost a whisper, tinged with an accent that spoke of careful English learned as a second language. "I'm just looking, sir." Marcus turned toward the sound and saw her. A young Asian woman, perhaps 22, with long black hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She stood before a rack of infant dresses, her slender fingers barely touching a delicate pink dress adorned with tiny pearls. In her arms, she held a baby girl who couldn't be more than 10 months old, with impossibly chubby cheeks and bright, curious eyes. The sales associate, a thin man with a nameplate reading Clayton, hovered nearby with barely concealed impatience. His eyes swept over the young woman's appearance. Worn sneakers that had seen better days, jeans with a small mend near the knee, and a sweater that, while clean and neat, clearly came from a discount store rather than a designer boutique. "The price tag is quite clearly marked, miss," Clayton said coolly, gesturing toward the $180 price tag dangling from the dress. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable browsing our clearance section on the 4th floor." The young woman, Sophia, though Marcus didn't yet know her name, didn't flinch at the condescension. Instead, she adjusted the baby in her arms and spoke gently to the little girl. "Look at this one, Luna," she whispered, her voice filled with tender longing. See how the pink would bring out your beautiful eyes? And these little pearls. You'd look like a princess. Luna gurgled happily, reaching tiny fingers toward the dress as if she understood her mother's words. Sophia allowed herself another moment of dreaming before carefully moving away from the rack, her dignity intact despite Clayton's obvious dismissal. Marcus found himself frozen, watching this intimate scene unfold. Something about the pure love in Sophia's voice as she spoke to her daughter stirred memories he'd tried to bury. He remembered Isabella doing the same thing with Arya, spinning fairy tales about dresses and dreams in department stores across the city. But there was something else, a recognition of loss, of yearning, of a mother who wanted to give her child the world, but couldn't afford even this small piece of it. The careful way Sophia touched the fabric spoke of someone who understood quality, but could only admire it from afar. Luna's first birthday party was everything a celebration should be, messy, loud, and filled with love. Their backyard in Greenwich buzzed with activity as Luna toddled between guests, her pink dress already decorated with cake frosting and grass stains. Margaret and Robert had arrived early, bringing traditional Chinese decorations and homemade dumplings. Mrs. Rodriguez came from Queens with Luna's favorite babysitter gift, a stuffed elephant that played lullabies. Dr. Williams from Mount Sinai stopped by with several of Sophia's nursing colleagues, all of whom had fallen in love with Luna during Sophia's Bring Your Daughter to Work days. Marcus watched from the porch as Luna discovered she could make other people happy simply by clapping her hands. Every time someone clapped back, she dissolved into giggles and did it again, creating an endless loop of joy that had all the adults wrapped around her tiny finger. She's got your charm, Sophia said, joining him with 2 cups of punch. And your determination, Marcus replied, pointing to where Luna was systematically dismantling her birthday cake 1 handful at a time, despite multiple attempts to redirect her attention to the proper spoon. Cake good, Luna announced to no one in particular, holding up a fistful of chocolate frosting before trying to share it with her Yeye's shirt. As the afternoon wound down and guests began to leave, Marcus felt a profound sense of completion. This was what family looked like, not perfect, but real, not quiet, but alive, not empty, but overflowing with the kind of chaos that comes from people who love each other enough to show up. After Luna's bath and bedtime routine, Marcus and Sophia sat in their living room, surrounded by wrapping paper and new toys, both exhausted but happy. I can't believe she's won already, Sophia said, curled up against Marcus's side on the couch. It feels like yesterday that I was terrified I couldn't take care of her alone. You were never alone after that day in Bloomingdale's, Marcus said quietly. Even before we knew what this was, you had me. Sophia looked up at him, seeing something different in his expression. Marcus, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, he said, sitting up straighter. Everything's right. That's the problem. I don't understand. Marcus took her hands in his heart racing in a way that had nothing to do with business deals or board meetings. Sophia, watching Luna blow out her birthday candle today, seeing our families come together, realizing that this time last year you were struggling alone and now you're home, we're home. I don't want to imagine a future without this. Marcus, wait, let me finish. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, watching Sophia's eyes widen. This isn't Isabella's ring. This belonged to my grandmother, Rose Thornfield. She wore it for 63 years of marriage to my grandfather, through the Depression, 2 wars, raising 5 children, and every ordinary Tuesday in between. He opened the box to reveal a vintage diamond ring, elegant in its simplicity, surrounded by small sapphires that caught the lamplight. My grandmother always said that the best marriages aren't built on grand gestures, but on choosing each other every single day, on showing up when it's hard, on finding joy in the mundane, on creating something beautiful together, even when the world tries to tear it down. Sophia's hands were shaking as Marcus slid off the couch and knelt in front of her. Sophia Chen, you've taught me how to live again. You've shown me that it's possible to honor the past while building something new. You've given me the privilege of being Luna's father, of being part of something bigger than myself. Marcus, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. You don't need me to take care of you. You're the strongest person I know. But I need you to let me try anyway. I need Sunday mornings with Luna between us in bed, reading stories and eating pancakes. I need to help her with homework and teach her to drive and walk her down the aisle someday. I need to grow old with you, to build a life so full of love that it honors everyone we've lost and everyone we've found." He held up the ring, his voice breaking slightly. "Will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband, Luna's father, and whatever comes next for our family?" Sophia was crying too hard to speak immediately, but when she nodded, Marcus's face transformed with relief and joy. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, it fit perfectly, like everything else between them had once they stopped fighting it. "Yes," she finally managed to say, "yes to all of it. To you, to us, to forever." When they kissed, it tasted like birthday cake and promises, like second chances and new beginnings all wrapped into one perfect moment. From upstairs came Luna's sleepy voice through the baby monitor. "Mama? Dada?" They broke apart, laughing and crying at the same time. "Should we tell her the news?" Marcus asked. "In the morning," Sophia said, admiring the ring on her finger. "Let her sleep. She's had enough excitement for one day." But as they headed upstairs to check on their daughter, they could hear Luna babbling contentedly to herself in her crib. "Mama, Dada, happy, love." Even at 1 year old, she seemed to understand that something wonderful was happening in the house where dreams came true. 6 months after the proposal, guests filled the main floor of what had once been the children's section of Bloomingdale's. Marcus had purchased the building and transformed it into the Isabella and Aria Thornfield Community Center, a place where single mothers could access job training, childcare, and support services. The space where Sophia had once whispered, "I'm just looking, sir," now sparkled with white roses and twinkling lights. Chairs arranged in gentle curves faced an altar, positioned exactly where the infant dress rack had stood, the spot where their love story had truly begun. Luna, now 18 months old and walking with determined confidence, wore a miniature version of Sophia's simple ivory dress. Her job as flower girl was going about as well as expected for a toddler. She'd eaten 2 handfuls of rose petals, tried to give the ring bearer's pillow to a guest's dog, and was currently more interested in the photographer's camera bag than in scattering flowers. "Flowers," she announced to anyone who would listen, throwing petals in random directions before clapping at her own cleverness. Margaret Chen dabbed at her eyes as she watched her granddaughter charm the entire wedding party. "She's going to steal the show," she whispered to Robert, who was recording every moment on his phone. "As she should," Robert replied, beaming with grandfather pride. "This is her day too." In the small room that served as the bridal suite, Sophia smoothed her dress one final time. The gown was elegant in its simplicity, flowing silk that moved like water, with pearl buttons down the back that Isabella would have loved. Around her neck she wore a simple pendant Marcus had given her the night before, a small diamond, surrounded by 2 birthstones, Aria's and Luna's, representing past and present coming together. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," Margaret said, adjusting Sophia's simple veil. "Marcus is a lucky man." "I'm the lucky one," Sophia replied, meaning it completely. Through the window she could see Marcus at the altar, looking handsome in his dark grey suit, trying to redirect Luna's attention back to her flower duties. Dr. Williams, who was officiating the ceremony, smiled as Luna decided the best place for flower petals was on Marcus's shoes. He bent down to help her, and she immediately launched into an enthusiastic explanation of her important job, most of which was unintelligible, but delivered with complete confidence. "She's practicing her wedding speech," Sophia's colleague from Mount Sinai joked, making the gathered guests laugh. As the music began, Mrs. Rodriguez, now Luna's honorary grandmother, took the toddler's hand to help guide her down the aisle. Luna took this responsibility very seriously, stopping every few steps to ensure she'd distributed flowers evenly and that everyone was appropriately appreciating her work. "Pretty flowers," she told Dr. Chen as she passed, offering him a handful of petals. "Beautiful flowers from a beautiful girl," he agreed, accepting the slightly crushed roses with solemn dignity. When Sophia appeared at the back of the transformed space, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. She walked alone, by choice, not necessity, her eyes locked on Marcus, who looked at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd never dared to voice. Luna, seeing her mother in her special dress, abandoned all pretense of flower girl duties and ran toward Sophia with arms outstretched. "Mama, pretty." "Thank you, sweetheart," Sophia whispered, scooping Luna up for a moment before setting her down again. "Now go to Daddy, Mama needs to marry him." Luna considered this seriously, then toddled over to Marcus and patted his leg. "Dada marry Mama." "That's the plan, little one," Marcus said softly, lifting Luna into his arms as Sophia reached them. Dr. Williams smiled at the unconventional beginning. "Dearly beloved, we gather here today to witness not just the union of Marcus and Sophia, but the celebration of a family that has already chosen each other in countless ways." As they exchanged vows, Luna provided commentary, Mama crying when Sophia teared up during Marcus's promise to love Luna as his own daughter forever. Dada silly when Marcus's voice cracked while promising to honor Isabella and Aria's memory by building something beautiful with Sophia. "I promise," Sophia said, her voice steady despite her tears, "to choose you every day in small moments and big ones, to build a life with you that honors where we've been and celebrates where we're going, to be Luna's mother and your wife and the woman who reminds you every single day that you deserve this happiness." When Dr. Williams pronounced them husband and wife, Luna clapped enthusiastically from Marcus's arms. "Dada and Mama married." "That's right, baby girl," Marcus said, kissing Sophia as their guests erupted in applause. "We're all married now." The reception continued in the same space, with Luna holding court at the head table, charming every guest with her enthusiasm for cake and dancing. She insisted on helping with the toasts, adding her own commentary of cheers and cake at strategic moments. As the evening wound down and Luna fell asleep in Margaret's arms, Marcus and Sophia shared their first dance as husband and wife to "The Way You Look Tonight," the song that had been playing in the cafe the first time Luna had called Marcus Dada. "Any regrets?" Marcus asked as they swayed together, surrounded by everyone who mattered. "Only that it took us so long to get here," Sophia replied, looking around at their chosen family, her parents, Mrs. Rodriguez, the colleagues who'd become friends, and sleeping in her grandmother's arms, the little girl who'd brought them all together. "Perfect timing," Marcus disagreed, spinning Sophia gently. "We found each other exactly when we were ready to be found. Above them, in the space where dreams had once seemed impossible, fairy lights twinkled like stars, and love had indeed come full circle. Clayton had already moved on to assist a well-dressed couple, selecting a $300 christening gown, leaving Sophia and Luna to continue their window shopping ritual. Marcus watched as they moved to the next rack, where Sophia repeated the same gentle commentary, describing each outfit to Luna as if they were browsing their own private collection. "Oh, look at this one," Sophia murmured, stopping before a tiny yellow romper with embroidered butterflies. "Perfect for spring, don't you think? You could wear this to the park and all the butterflies would think you're one of them." Luna babbled in response, and Sophia laughed, a sound so pure and joyful that it cut straight through Marcus's carefully constructed emotional armor. For the first time in 8 years, Marcus Thornfield felt something other than emptiness. As he watched this young mother create magic for her daughter, with nothing but words and love, he realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. Hope existing in the space between dreams and reality. And in that moment, watching Sophia and Luna disappear toward the next section, Marcus made a decision that would change all their lives forever. Marcus found himself following Sophia and Luna at a respectful distance, drawn by something he couldn't name. Through the baby accessories section, past the toddler shoes, into the toy department. Everywhere they went, the same ritual played out. Sophia would pause, examine something beautiful, describe it lovingly to Luna, then move on with quiet resignation. At a display of organic cotton onesies, she lifted one decorated with tiny elephants. "These would be so soft against your skin, sweetheart," she whispered to Luna, who grabbed the fabric with both hands and giggled. The price tag read $45 for a 3-pack, probably more than Sophia spent on groceries in a week. In the shoe section, she knelt down and held up miniature pink ballet flats next to Luna's sock-covered feet. "When you're bigger, Luna, when you're ready to dance," Her voice carried the weight of promises she hoped she could keep. Marcus watched it all, his throat tightening with each tender moment. This young mother was giving her daughter something more valuable than any expensive item. She was giving her dreams, painting pictures of a beautiful future with nothing but words and imagination. When Sophia finally gathered her worn diaper bag and headed toward the exit, Marcus knew what he had to do. He waited until they disappeared through the revolving doors before striding purposefully back to the children's section. Clayton was straightening a rack of designer rompers when Marcus approached. The sales associate's demeanor shifted instantly upon recognizing the expensive cut of Marcus's suit and the authority in his bearing. "Good evening, sir. How may I assist you today?" Marcus surveyed the entire children's department, racks upon racks of tiny clothes, shelves of toys, displays of accessories. His decision felt both impulsive and inevitable. "I want to purchase everything in the infant section," Marcus said calmly. "Sizes 6 to 18 months. Clayton's carefully maintained composure cracked. "I'm sorry, sir. Did you say everything?" "Everything." Marcus's voice was steady, matter of fact. The dresses, the onesies, the shoes, the toys suitable for that age range, all of it. "Sir, that would be—" Clayton fumbled with his tablet, his fingers shaking slightly as he tried to calculate. "That would be approximately $47,000. Without hesitation, Marcus reached into his jacket and withdrew a black American Express Centurion card. "Will this cover it?" Clayton's eyes widened at the sight of the legendary card that only the ultra-wealthy possessed. "Yes, sir, absolutely, sir. Should I arrange for delivery?" Marcus thought of Sophia's worn sneakers, her carefully mended jeans, the way she touched that pink dress like it was made of spun gold. He thought of Luna's bright eyes and infectious giggle, and of how Arya used to clap her hands when she saw pretty things. "I need the delivery to be anonymous," Marcus said quietly. "No card, no indication of who sent it. Just a gift. Can you arrange that?" "Of course, sir. We'll need a delivery address." Marcus pulled out his phone, accessing the discreet investigation app his security team had installed. A few quick searches revealed what he needed: public records, social media, breadcrumbs, the digital footprint of a young mother trying to make it in an expensive city. "Sophia Chen," he said, providing the address of a modest apartment building in Queens. Tell her someone noticed she was just looking and thought she and her daughter deserved more than that." As Clayton processed the unprecedented purchase, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in 8 years: purpose. He didn't fully understand what drove him to this act of extraordinary generosity. Perhaps it was the memory of his own daughter, or recognition of a mother's limitless love, or simply the need to believe that good things could still happen in a world that had taken everything from him. Whatever the reason, as he signed the receipt and walked out into the Manhattan night, Marcus Thornfield felt truly alive for the first time since he'd lost his family. He had no idea that this single act of kindness would soon bring both women back into his life in ways he never could have imagined. 2 days after the delivery trucks had left her Queens apartment, overflowing with designer baby clothes, Sophia Chen stood in the gleaming lobby of Thornfield Medical Technologies, clutching Luna against her chest like a shield. The baby, dressed in one of the beautiful outfits from the mysterious gift, seemed fascinated by the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Sophia had spent 18 hours tracking down the identity of her anonymous benefactor. Security footage from Bloomingdale's, conversations with delivery drivers, and a determination born of pride and confusion had led her here, to the 42nd floor office of Marcus Thornfield, Billionaire CEO. "I don't have an appointment," she told the startled receptionist, "but I need to see Mr. Thornfield. Tell him it's about the young woman who was just looking at Bloomingdale's." The receptionist's perfectly manicured eyebrows rose, but something in Sophia's quiet determination made her pick up the phone. Within minutes, Sophia found herself walking down a corridor lined with awards and patents, Luna babbling contentedly in her arms. Marcus was standing by his window when his assistant announced her arrival. He turned slowly, his steel-gray eyes widening slightly at the sight of the young woman he'd been unable to stop thinking about. She looked different in his sterile corporate environment, smaller somehow but no less dignified. "Why?" Sophia asked without preamble, her voice steady despite the intimidating surroundings. Why would a complete stranger spend $47,000 on baby clothes for someone he's never met? Marcus found himself speechless, a rarity for someone who regularly negotiated multi-billion-dollar deals. The directness of her question, the way she held his gaze without flinching, caught him completely off guard. He began, then stopped. How could he explain that watching her with Luna had awakened something in him that he'd thought was dead forever? I don't want your charity, Sophia continued, shifting Luna to her other arm. I may not have money, but I have pride. I work 3 jobs to support my daughter and we manage just fine. I know you do, Marcus said quietly, finding his voice. It wasn't meant to be charity. Then what was it? Marcus moved away from the window, closer to where she stood. Luna looked up at him with bright, curious eyes, and for a moment he saw Arya's face superimposed over the baby's features. I lost a daughter, he said simply. 8 years ago. She was 4 years old. Loved pink dresses, especially ones with sparkles. The anger in Sophia's expression softened instantly, replaced by something deeper, recognition of shared pain. I watched you with Luna in that store, Marcus continued, his voice barely above a whisper. The way you described those clothes to her, the love in your voice, it reminded me of what I used to have, what I lost. And I thought maybe if I could help you give her those things, it might mean something, that it might matter. Sophia was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. Luna reached out a tiny hand toward Marcus, and instinctively, he extended his finger for her to grasp. The baby's grip was surprisingly strong, and Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest. What was her name? Sophia asked softly. Your daughter. Arya. The name came out like a prayer. Arya Rose Thornfield. She would have been 12 next month. Luna gurgled and smiled up at Marcus, as if she understood the weight of what was being shared. Sophia watched the interaction, seeing past the expensive suit and intimidating wealth to the broken man underneath. I'm sorry for your loss, she said, and Marcus could hear that she truly meant it. And I'm sorry for assuming the worst about your intentions. You had every right to question them, Marcus replied. A stranger buying your daughter clothes. It does sound strange when you say it out loud. For the first time since entering his office, Sophia smiled, just slightly, but enough to transform her entire face. Luna seems to like you, she observed as the baby continued to grip his finger, studying his face with intense concentration. She's beautiful, Marcus said, and meant it. How old is she? 10 months next week. She's just starting to say mama consistently. They stood there in the afternoon light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, an unlikely trio connected by loss, hope, and the unexpected bridges that kindness can build between strangers. Would you... Marcus hesitated, then took a breath. Would you like to get coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more about Luna, and maybe you could tell me what it's like to be a mother again. The small cafe on the Upper West Side was a world away from Marcus's usual haunts of 5-star restaurants and exclusive clubs. He sat across from Sophia in a worn wooden booth, watching as she carefully prepared Luna's bottle while balancing the baby on her lap. The normalcy of it, the domestic routine he'd forgotten existed, felt both foreign and deeply comforting. Tell me about Isabella, Sophia said gently, testing the formula temperature on her wrist. What was she like? Marcus stirred his coffee, surprised by how easily her name came when Sophia asked. For years he'd avoided talking about his wife with anyone. Brilliant, he said, a soft smile crossing his face. Dr. Isabella Martinez Thornfield. She ran the pediatric wing at Mount Sinai, could diagnose rare conditions that stumped other doctors, but what made her special was how she talked to the children. She'd get down on their level, make them laugh, even when they were scared. Luna reached for the sugar packets on the table, and Marcus automatically moved them out of her reach, a gesture so natural that Sophia noticed immediately. She sounds wonderful, Sophia said, offering Luna the bottle. How did you meet? Hospital fundraiser, 8 years before the accident. I was donating medical equipment. She was giving a presentation on childhood leukemia research. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Marcus's voice grew quiet. She made me want to be better than I was. And Aria? Marcus's expression transformed completely. 4 years old going on 40, had Isabella's compassion and my stubborn streak. She used to help Isabella with her medical journals by drawing pictures in the margins, said the sick children would like the colorful flowers better than boring words. Sophia smiled as Luna finished her bottle and settled contentedly against her shoulder. She sounds like she was full of life. She was sunshine, Marcus whispered, the kind of child who made strangers smile just by existing. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was the quiet of shared understanding. Finally, Marcus looked up at Sophia. What about you? Luna's father. Sophia's jaw tightened slightly. David Chen, no relation, just coincidental last names. Pre-med student at Columbia. When I told him I was pregnant, he said a baby would ruin his career plans, offered to pay for an abortion, and when I refused, he disappeared completely. Haven't heard from him since. Your family. Traditional Chinese parents who immigrated here 30 years ago, Sophia said, gently patting Luna's back. They expected me to marry well, bring honor to the family name. A single mother at 21 wasn't part of their plan. They told me if I kept the baby, I was no longer their daughter. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. They abandoned you when you needed them most. They made their choice, I made mine. Sophia's voice was matter-of-fact, but Marcus caught the pain underneath. I was studying nursing at Hunter College, had to drop out when Luna was born, but I'm taking night classes now. 3 jobs during the day. Cleaning offices, waitressing, babysitting other people's children while Luna stays with Mrs. Rodriguez next door. 3 jobs? Marcus couldn't hide his shock. Rent in Queens is still expensive, and formula, diapers, doctor visits. Sophia shrugged. We manage. Luna's healthy and happy, that's what matters. Luna had fallen asleep against Sophia's shoulder, her tiny fist curled against her mother's neck. Marcus watched them, remembering how Aria used to fall asleep the same way against Isabella after her evening bottle. I used to read to Aria every night, he found himself saying. Same book, Goodnight Moon. She had it memorized, but still insisted I read it properly. Said the story didn't work if I skipped words. Luna loves books too, Sophia said softly. The library has free story time on Saturdays. She claps at all the wrong parts, but the librarian says she's their most enthusiastic audience. For 2 hours they shared stories. Marcus about board meetings that felt meaningless after losing everything that mattered. Sophia about studying for nursing exams while Luna slept in her arms. They talked about sleepless nights for different reasons, about learning to navigate a world that suddenly felt too big and too empty. When Luna woke up, she looked directly at Marcus and smiled. A real, recognizing smile that made his heart skip. She remembers you, Sophia observed, shifting the baby so she could see him better. Hello, little one, Marcus said softly, and Luna gurgled in response, reaching her hands toward him. Without thinking, Marcus extended his arms, and Sophia carefully transferred Luna to him. The weight of her, the trust in her bright eyes, the way she immediately settled against his chest. It all felt devastatingly familiar and completely new at the same time. She likes you, Sophia said, watching them with something that might have been wonder. Luna's usually shy with strangers. As Marcus held Luna and listened to her contented babbling, he realized something had shifted fundamentally in his world. For the first time in 8 years, he was looking forward to tomorrow. Over the following weeks, Sophia began noticing changes in her life that felt too coincidental to be random. First, the daycare called to inform her that an anonymous benefactor had paid Luna's fees for the entire year. Then boxes of premium formula and organic baby food appeared outside her apartment door, with notes reading simply, "For Luna's bright future." When she questioned Marcus during their now regular Saturday coffee meetings, he maintained his innocence with the poker face of a seasoned businessman, but the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth gave him away. "You can't keep doing this," Sophia said one morning, watching Luna expertly destroy a piece of banana while sitting in Marcus's lap. They'd moved from the cafe to Central Park, where Marcus had discovered the simple joy of watching Luna chase pigeons. "Doing what?" Marcus asked innocently. wiping banana from Luna's chin with practiced ease. 3 weeks of Saturday mornings had transformed him from someone who avoided children to someone who carried wet wipes in his suit pocket. The nursing school called yesterday. Apparently, I've been awarded a full scholarship for single mothers. Funny thing is, the scholarship didn't exist until this week. Marcus concentrated very hard on adjusting Luna's sun hat. That's wonderful news. You deserve it. Marcus. He finally looked up, meeting her stern gaze. You said you wanted to finish nursing school. I just facilitated that. I also said I don't want charity. It's not charity, Marcus said quietly. It's investment. In you. In Luna's future. In... He paused, searching for words. In something that matters. Luna chose that moment to babble, da da da, while patting Marcus's cheek with sticky fingers. Both adults froze, staring at each other. She doesn't know what she's saying, Sophia said quickly. She makes those sounds at everyone. But Marcus had noticed that Luna only made those particular sounds with him. When the mailman came by, she said, ba ba ba. With Mrs. Rodriguez, it was ma ma ma. But with Marcus, consistently, it was da da da. I know, Marcus said softly, but his heart was racing. It's just baby talk. Their routine had become sacred. Saturday mornings in the park, where Marcus learned about developmental milestones, and Sophia discovered that billionaires could be surprisingly good at making silly faces. Marcus brought coffee and pastries from a bakery near his office. Sophia brought Luna's endless entertainment requirements and a perspective on life that money couldn't buy. Look, she's trying to crawl, Sophia said one afternoon, placing Luna on a blanket in the grass. At 11 months, Luna was determined to explore her world, pulling herself forward with impressive determination. Marcus watched, fascinated, as Luna reached for a dandelion just beyond her grasp. Should we help her? Let her figure it out. Independence is important. Marcus thought about his own childhood, raised by nannies while his parents built their business empire. Isabella used to say that too. She believed children needed to discover their own capabilities. Luna finally reached the dandelion, immediately trying to eat it. Sophia quickly intervened, offering a safer toy instead. Luna considered this trade for a moment, then crawled determinedly back toward the flower. Stubborn, Marcus observed with amusement. Wonder where she gets that from, Sophia replied, but she was smiling. As Luna continued her botanical expedition, Marcus found himself studying Sophia's profile. The way afternoon sunlight caught the dark strands of her hair, the unconscious grace with which she moved to keep Luna safe while letting her explore. He was falling for both of them, he realized, the mother and the daughter who had wandered into his empty life and filled it with purpose. Sophia, he said suddenly, would you consider having dinner sometime? Not coffee, not a play date, an actual dinner, just us adults? She looked at him with surprise. What about Luna? Mrs. Rodriguez has been babysitting for 3 years, right? One evening wouldn't hurt. Sophia was quiet for a long moment, watching Luna discover that grass tasted different from flowers. Marcus, I need you to understand something. Luna and I are a package deal. Whatever this is becoming between us, she has to come first, always. I wouldn't have it any other way, Marcus said, and meant it completely. I'm not asking you to choose between us. I'm asking if there's room in your life for someone who wants to care about both of you. Luna crawled over to Marcus, pulling herself up on his leg with triumph written across her face. Da da, she said clearly, clapping her hands. This time neither adult pretended they hadn't heard it. One dinner, Sophia said finally. But if Luna needs me, if anything happens, I'll drive you home myself, Marcus promised, lifting Luna into his arms. Besides, I think our little adventurer here has already made her opinion known about whether I should stick around. Luna giggled and grabbed Marcus's tie, and for the first time since losing Arya, Marcus allowed himself to hope that maybe, just maybe, he could be a father again. The call came at 2:17 a.m. on a bitter December night when the wind howled through the streets of Queens like a living thing. Marcus was reviewing quarterly reports in his penthouse study when his phone buzzed with Sophia's number. a number he'd memorized but never expected to see at this hour. "Marcus?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, trembling with panic. "I'm sorry to call so late, but Luna, something's wrong. She's burning up and I can't get her fever down. She's breathing so fast, and I don't know what to do." Marcus was already reaching for his keys before she finished speaking. "I'm on my way. Don't hang up. Tell me exactly what's happening." "Her temperature is 104.2, Sophia said, and he could hear Luna's labored breathing in the background. "She won't take her bottle, won't stop crying. Mrs. Rodriguez is in Puerto Rico visiting family, and the emergency room wait time is 4 hours. I'm scared, Marcus, I'm really scared." 15 minutes, Marcus said, racing toward the elevator. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. Keep her cool with damp cloths, but don't use ice. And Sophia, you're going to be okay. Luna's going to be okay." Marcus made the drive from Manhattan to Queens in 12 minutes, his Aston Martin flying through empty streets while he kept Sophia on the phone, talking her through cooling techniques Isabella had taught him years ago. By the time he reached her building, Sophia was waiting in the lobby with Luna wrapped in a light blanket. One look at the baby's flushed face and rapid breathing told Marcus everything he needed to know. This wasn't just a fever. This was serious. "Mount Sinai," he said, taking Luna gently while Sophia grabbed the diaper bag. "I know the chief of pediatrics there." The drive to the hospital was a blur of city lights and desperate prayers. Luna lay listless in Sophia's arms, her usual bright babbling replaced by shallow, quick breaths that made Marcus's chest tighten with remembered terror. He'd lost one daughter. He couldn't lose another. At Mount Sinai, Marcus's name opened doors that would have taken hours for other families. Within minutes, Luna was in the pediatric ICU, surrounded by machines and specialists. Dr. Patricia Williams, Isabella's former colleague, took charge immediately. "Pneumonia," she confirmed after examining Luna's chest x-rays. "Severe, but we caught it in time. She's going to need IV antibiotics and close monitoring for the next 24 hours. Sophia collapsed into a chair beside Luna's tiny hospital bed, her composure finally cracking. "I should have brought her in sooner. I thought it was just a cold. What kind of mother am I?" "The kind who loves her daughter enough to call for help," Marcus said firmly, kneeling beside her chair. "The kind who noticed something was wrong in the middle of the night. You saved her life, Sophia." For the next 18 hours, they took turns holding vigil. Marcus used his connections to ensure Luna had the best care possible, while Sophia never left her daughter's side for more than a few minutes. They survived on hospital cafeteria coffee and shared fears, watching monitors and waiting for signs of improvement. It was during hour 16 that Luna finally opened her eyes and looked directly at Marcus with recognition, her breathing noticeably easier. "Da," she whispered, reaching a weak hand toward him. Marcus felt tears he'd been holding back for hours finally spill over. "I'm here, sweetheart. Daddy's here." Sophia looked at him through her own tears, and in that moment, something fundamental shifted between them. They weren't just two broken people helping each other anymore. They were a family, forged in crisis and sealed by love. "She's going to be fine," Dr. Williams announced during her evening rounds. "Her fever broke an hour ago, and her oxygen levels are back to normal. You can take her home tomorrow." That night, as Luna slept peacefully between them in the hospital room, Marcus and Sophia sat in silence, processing what they'd almost lost and what they'd discovered. "I can't do this alone anymore," Sophia whispered into the darkness. "When I thought I might lose her, I realized I don't want to face life without you, either of you." Marcus reached across Luna's sleeping form to take Sophia's hand. "You'll never have to. Whatever this is between us, wherever it leads, we're in this together now." Outside the hospital window, snow began to fall, covering the city in a blanket of quiet hope. Inside room 314, 3 hearts beat in rhythm, and Marcus Thornfield finally understood that sometimes the most beautiful families are born not from biology, but from choice, crisis, and the courage to love again. A month after Luna's recovery, Central Park gleamed under the gentle warmth of an unexpected February thaw. Marcus pushed the brand-new stroller, a gift Sophia had finally stopped protesting, while she walked beside him, pointing out early spring buds to Luna, who clapped excitedly at everything she saw. "Look, Luna," Sophia said, stopping beside a cluster of brave crocuses pushing through the last patches of snow. Purple flowers, just like in your favorite book. Luna, now 13 months old and fully recovered from her illness, babbled enthusiastically from her stroller. Her vocabulary had been expanding rapidly, though most of her words were still delightfully unintelligible to anyone except her devoted audience of 2. They found their usual spot near the duck pond, where Marcus spread out the picnic blanket he'd started keeping in his car. Luna immediately crawled toward the water's edge, fascinated by the mallards swimming lazy circles in the afternoon sun. "Careful, sweetheart," Sophia called, scooping Luna up before she could get too close. "Water is for looking, not touching." Luna studied her mother's face seriously, then turned to look at Marcus, who was unpacking sandwiches from their picnic basket. "Mama," she said clearly, patting Sophia's cheek. Both adults went very still. Luna had been making ma sounds for weeks, but this was different, deliberate, directed, unmistakably intentional. "Did she just—" Marcus began. "Mama," Luna repeated, more confidently this time, smiling at Sophia's expression of wonder. "Yes, baby," Sophia whispered, tears springing to her eyes. "I'm Mama. Your Mama." Luna seemed pleased with this reaction and turned in Sophia's arms to face Marcus, who was watching the scene with an expression of pure joy. The little girl studied his face for a moment, then reached her arms toward him. "Dada," she said with complete certainty. "Dada." The world stopped. Marcus felt his heart skip several beats as Luna repeated the word, reaching for him insistently. This wasn't random babbling or coincidental sounds. This was his daughter, in every way that mattered, claiming him as her father. "Oh my God," Sophia breathed, looking between Luna and Marcus. "She knows. She really knows." Marcus took Luna into his arms, and she immediately cuddled against his chest, patting his face with tiny hands. "Da-da," she said again, as if testing how the word felt in her mouth. "That's right, little one," Marcus whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm your daddy." For several minutes they sat in amazed silence, watching Luna practice her new words, calling each of them by name with increasing confidence. The ducks continued their lazy swimming, other families played nearby, but in their little corner of the park, everything had changed. "She sees us as her parents," Sophia said softly, wonder still coloring her voice. "Both of us." "She's not wrong," Marcus replied, shifting Luna so she could see both their faces. "Is she?" Sophia looked at him, really looked at him, seeing not the billionaire CEO or the grieving widower, but the man who had shown up at 2 a.m. without question, who carried wet wipes and knew exactly how to make Luna laugh, who had somehow become essential to both their lives. "No," she said quietly. "She's not wrong." That evening, after they'd returned to Sophia's apartment and put Luna down for the night, they sat together on her small couch, both still processing the magnitude of what had happened. "Everything's different now," Sophia said, tucking her feet under her. "Once she starts talking, really talking, she's going to expect permanence, stability. She'll have it," Marcus said without hesitation. "Whatever you need, whatever she needs." "Marcus." Sophia turned to face him fully. "I'm not talking about money or security. I'm talking about us, about what we are to each other." He studied her face in the soft lamplight, seeing the vulnerability she was trying to hide. "What do you want us to be?" "I want to stop pretending this is just friendship," she admitted. "I want to stop acting like my heart doesn't race every time you text. I want Luna to grow up knowing that the man she calls daddy actually is her daddy, in every way that counts." Marcus reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Sophia Chen, are you asking me to be your boyfriend?" She laughed, some of the tension breaking. "I think I'm asking for more than that. I think I'm asking if you want to try being a family, a real family." "I've wanted that since the day Luna first fell asleep in my arms," Marcus confessed. "I just didn't know if you felt the same way." "How could I not?" Sophia whispered. "You've given us everything, not just material things, but hope, purpose, love." When he kissed her, it was gentle and sure, full of promises and possibilities. It tasted like new beginnings and felt like coming home. When they broke apart, Sophia rested her forehead against his. "So what happens now?" "Now," Marcus said, smiling, "we figure out how to be the family Luna already thinks we are." From her crib in the next room came the soft sound of baby babbling, "Mama, Dada," even in her sleep. The first photo appeared on page 6 of the New York Post on a Tuesday morning. Marcus Thornfield, billionaire CEO, pushing a stroller through Central Park, while a young Asian woman walked beside him, laughing at something he'd said. The headline read, "Thornfield's New Family. Grieving Billionaire Steps Out with Mystery Woman and Baby." By Wednesday, the story had exploded across every gossip blog and tabloid in the city. Paparazzi had somehow obtained multiple photos from their park visits over the past month. Marcus holding Luna, Sophia feeding her on the bench, the three of them looking undeniably like a family. The headlines grew more vicious by the hour. Billionaire's gold digger Asian beauty, half his age snags grieving widower, replacing the irreplaceable, how soon is too soon? And the cruelest one that made Sophia's hands shake as she read it. Thornfield's rebound. CEO trades dead wife and daughter for newer models. Sophia first noticed the photographers outside her apartment building when she left for her morning shift at the diner. Cameras flashed in her face as reporters shouted questions. "How long have you been sleeping with Marcus Thornfield? Is the baby his? What would you say to people who think you're taking advantage of a grieving man?" She clutched Luna tighter and pushed through the crowd, but the damage was done. Luna started crying from the chaos, and Sophia felt her own composure cracking. By the time she reached the diner, her manager was waiting with a grim expression. "I'm sorry, Sophia," Janet said, not meeting her eyes. "Corporate called. They don't want the media circus affecting business. I have to let you go." It was the same story at the office building where she cleaned at night. "Nothing personal," the building manager explained, "but we can't have reporters camping out in our lobby." Within 24 hours, Sophia had lost 2 of her 3 jobs. The third, babysitting for the Hendersons, ended when Mrs. Henderson called to say they were uncomfortable with all the attention. Marcus found her crying in her apartment that evening, Luna napping peacefully, oblivious to the storm swirling around her family. "They fired me," Sophia said without preamble when she opened the door. "All of them. Because of you, because of us." Marcus stepped inside, his jaw tight with anger, not at her, but at the vultures who had destroyed her livelihood for a story. "I'll make some calls. I'll fix this." "You can't fix this," Sophia's voice cracked. "Don't you see, this is what your world does to people like me. I'm not some gold-digging opportunist, Marcus. I work hard for everything I have. I've never asked anyone for handouts, and now everyone thinks I'm some scheming woman who trapped a grieving billionaire. Anyone who matters knows that's not true. Everyone thinks it's true." Sophia gestured toward the window, where camera flashes could be seen from the street below. "Luna can't even go to the park without photographers following us. What kind of life is that for a baby?" Marcus knelt in front of her chair, taking her hands in his. "We'll get through this. The attention will die down." "Will it?" Sophia pulled her hands away. "Or will this follow us forever? Will Luna grow up reading articles about how her mother trapped her father? Will she have to defend our relationship to her classmates?" The weight of what she was saying settled between them. Marcus had lived his entire adult life in the public eye, but Sophia and Luna were innocent civilians who'd been thrust into a spotlight they never asked for. "What are you saying?" Marcus asked quietly. Sophia looked toward Luna's crib, where the baby slept peacefully, one tiny fist curled against her cheek. "Maybe I should take Luna and disappear for a while. Let things cool down. Let you get back to your life without us complicating it." "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "Running away won't solve anything, and my life isn't my life without you two in it anymore. But the scandal will pass. Sophia, look at me." When she met his eyes, he continued, 8 years ago, I lost everything that mattered to me. The press coverage then was brutal too. Speculation about the accident, invasion of privacy during the worst time of my life. But it ended eventually, and the people who really mattered stood by me. This is different. Back then, you were the victim. And now I'm what? The villain for falling in love again? Marcus shook his head. I refuse to let other people's opinions dictate how we live our lives. A soft cry from the crib interrupted them. Luna was waking up, and instinctively, both adults moved toward her. Marcus lifted her gently, and she immediately stopped fussing, looking between her parents with bright, trusting eyes. "Dada," she said happily, patting his face. "Mama," she added, reaching for Sophia. "She doesn't know about headlines or scandals," Marcus said softly. "She just knows we love her. Isn't that what really matters?" Sophia touched Luna's cheek, tears still threatening. "I'm scared, Marcus. I'm scared that loving you means giving up the life I built for her. Then let me help you build a better one, together." Outside, the photographers continued their vigil, but inside the small apartment, 3 hearts beat as one, determined to weather whatever storm awaited them. Marcus didn't tell Sophia what he was planning. Thursday morning, he called an emergency press conference at Thornfield Medical Technologies, much to his publicist's horror. By noon, every major news outlet in New York had cameras set up in the building's main conference room. Sophia was feeding Luna lunch when her phone started buzzing with notifications. She turned on the news to see Marcus walking to a podium, looking more determined than she'd ever seen him. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus began, his voice steady and clear, "I called you here today because the woman I love and her daughter are being attacked by people who don't know them, based on assumptions that couldn't be further from the truth." The room erupted with questions, but Marcus held up his hand for silence. 8 years ago, I lost my wife Isabella and my 4-year-old daughter Aria in a car accident. For 8 years I existed, but didn't live. I went through the motions of running a company, making money, breathing, but I wasn't really alive. I was a ghost in an expensive suit. Sophia sank onto her couch, Luna in her arms, watching transfixed as Marcus spoke without notes, without his usual corporate polish. 3 months ago, I was wandering aimlessly through Bloomingdale's when I heard a young mother say 5 words that changed my life. "I'm just looking, sir." I watched Sophia Chen describe beautiful clothes to her 10-month-old daughter Luna. Clothes she clearly couldn't afford, but wanted desperately to give her child. The love in her voice, the tenderness, the pure selflessness. It reminded me what it felt like to be human. The cameras captured every word, every emotion crossing his face. The headlines call Sophia a gold digger. Let me tell you who she really is. She's a 22-year-old nursing student who works 3 jobs to support her daughter. When I anonymously bought those clothes for Luna, Sophia tracked me down and tried to return them because she has too much pride to accept charity. She studies for her nursing exams while Luna sleeps, dreams of helping sick children like my late wife did, and has never asked me for a single thing. Marcus paused, his voice growing stronger. "You want to know the truth about our relationship? I didn't rescue Sophia and Luna. They rescued me. Luna taught me how to laugh again when she tried to eat flowers in Central Park. Sophia showed me that it's possible to love again without dishonoring the memory of those we've lost. When Luna got pneumonia last month, I sat in that hospital and realized I couldn't imagine my life without either of them." In her apartment, Sophia was crying now, Luna patting her face with concern. "The real scandal isn't that I'm dating someone younger than me. The real scandal is that for 8 years I stopped living because I thought that's what grief required." Sophia and Luna didn't see a billionaire or a grieving widower. They saw a broken man who needed to remember what family feels like. Marcus looked directly into the main camera. "Luna calls me Dada now, not because anyone taught her to, but because that's who I've become. When she took her first steps last week, it was toward me and Sophia because we're her parents. All 3 of us are learning what it means to be a family again." The room was completely silent. "So, yes, I'm in love with Sophia Chen. Yes, I consider Luna my daughter. And if that threatens your narrow definition of how grief should look or how long mourning should last, that's your problem, not mine. Isabella would want me to be happy. Aria would want me to be someone's daddy again. They wouldn't want me to spend the rest of my life as an empty shell." Marcus stepped back from the podium. "Sophia Chen is the strongest, most selfless woman I've ever met. She's studying to be a pediatric nurse because she wants to help children heal. Luna is a bright, beautiful little girl who deserves to grow up without cameras in her face. They both deserve better than the treatment they've received this week." He looked around the room one final time. I'm asking you to leave them alone. You want a story about me, I'll give you one. But they didn't choose this life, I'm choosing them. Marcus walked out without taking questions, leaving a room full of stunned reporters behind. Within an hour, the video had gone viral. Social media exploded with support. Tukik's Team Sophia. Love wins. Second chances. The narrative had completely shifted. Sophia's phone rang. It was Marcus. Did you watch? He asked quietly. Every word, she whispered. Marcus, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. You and Luna are my family now. No one gets to attack my family. Through her window, Sophia could see the photographers packing up their equipment, apparently having gotten the memo that the story had changed. I love you too, she said softly. Both Luna and I do. Then come home, Marcus said. Come home where you belong. For the first time in a week, Sophia smiled. We're on our way. The Manhattan penthouse had always been a monument to Marcus's success. 42nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, designer everything. But watching Luna crawl across the cold marble floors while Sophia tried to baby-proof sharp corners made him realize it had never been a home. This place isn't meant for children, Sophia observed, catching Luna just before she could pull herself up on a glass coffee table worth more than most people's cars. No, Marcus agreed, scooping Luna into his arms. It's not. That weekend, they drove to Connecticut to look at houses. Real houses with yards and swing sets, places where children could run and play without worrying about priceless art or marble surfaces. The colonial they fell in love with sat on 2 acres in Greenwich, with a wraparound porch and an oak tree perfect for a future tire swing. Luna took her wobbly first steps across the hardwood floors of the family room, while the realtor talked square footage. She likes it, Sophia said, laughing as Luna made it all the way to the fireplace before sitting down with a triumphant squeal. So do I, Marcus said, already envisioning Christmas mornings and birthday parties in these rooms. Moving day brought chaos Marcus had never experienced. His minimalist penthouse contents looked lost in the spacious family home, but Sophia's touches, photos on the mantel, Luna's toys in baskets, her nursing textbook stacked on the kitchen counter, transformed the house into something warm and lived in. I can't believe this is our home, Sophia said that first night, watching Marcus attempt to assemble Luna's new crib in what would be the nursery. Instructions clearly state tab A goes into slot B, Marcus muttered, holding up 2 pieces that obviously didn't fit together. Maybe try reading the instructions in English instead of upside down, Sophia suggested with amusement. I run a multi-billion-dollar company. I should be able to figure out a crib. 20 minutes later, Sophia gently took the screwdriver from his hands. Even CEOs need help sometimes. Marcus watched her efficiently connect the pieces he'd been struggling with, marveling at her practical competence. Where did you learn to do that? 3 jobs, remember? I've assembled more furniture than I care to count. She secured the final screw and tested the crib's stability. Perfect. Luna, who had been watching from her playpen, clapped her hands and babbled approval. At 14 months, her vocabulary was expanding daily, though most words were still delightfully unclear to anyone except her devoted parents. The real adjustments came in learning to be a family in the daily mundane moments. Marcus discovered that toddlers wake up at ungodly hours, completely refreshed and ready to explore. His first solo morning with Luna while Sophia took a final exam resulted in banana on the ceiling and both of them covered in oatmeal. How did you get food in your hair? Sophia asked when she returned to find them both in desperate need of baths. Luna's very enthusiastic about self-feeding, Marcus explained, wiping applesauce from behind his ear. Sophia's graduation from nursing school was a small ceremony, but Marcus felt prouder than he had at any corporate achievement. Luna sat on his lap in the auditorium, clapping loudly when Sophia Chen was called, as if she understood the significance. I did it, Sophia whispered afterward, clutching her diploma with tears in her eyes. You did it, Marcus agreed, kissing her forehead. And Mount Sinai is lucky to have you. Her new job in the pediatric ward felt like destiny. Watching Sophia comfort scared children and reassure worried parents, Marcus saw echoes of Isabella's compassion. But Sophia brought her own unique gifts. patience learned through single motherhood, resilience forged by struggle, and an intuitive understanding of what families needed most. The house gradually filled with the sounds of life. Luna's delighted squeals during bath time, Sophia humming while she cooked dinner, Marcus reading bedtime stories in voices silly enough to make Luna giggle. They developed routines that felt sacred. Pancakes on Saturday mornings, walks around their neighborhood where Luna waved at every dog and flower, quiet evenings after she was asleep when Marcus and Sophia talked about their days. "Do you miss it?" Sophia asked one night as they sat on their porch swing, baby monitor crackling softly beside them. The penthouse, the bachelor life, the simplicity of only worrying about yourself. Marcus considered the question seriously. "I miss the silence sometimes," he admitted. "But then Luna calls for me in the morning, or you laugh at something ridiculous I've done, and I remember what I was missing. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was empty." "Even when she's crying at 3 a.m. because she's teething?" "Especially then," Marcus said, pulling Sophia closer. "Because at 3 a.m. 8 years ago, I was alone with nothing but grief and regret. Now I'm awake because someone needs me. Someone trusts me to make things better." As if summoned by their conversation, Luna's voice came through the monitor. "Dada, Mama?" They looked at each other and smiled. "Your turn," Sophia said. "Our turn," Marcus corrected, taking her hand as they went inside to comfort their daughter. In the nursery, Luna stood in her crib, arms outstretched, tears forgotten the moment she saw them. "Up," she demanded, one of her clearest words. Marcus lifted her while Sophia retrieved her favorite stuffed elephant. Within minutes, Luna was asleep again, curled between them in the rocking chair that had become their nightly ritual. "This is what home feels like," Sophia whispered. "This is what love looks like," Marcus replied, watching his daughter sleep peacefully in his arms, his heart fuller than he'd ever thought possible again. The doorbell rang on a Saturday morning, while Marcus was attempting to braid Luna's hair and Sophia was making pancakes. Luna, now 15 months old and walking with increasing confidence, clapped her hands at the sound and toddled toward the front door. "I'll get it," Marcus called, scooping up Luna before she could reach the door handle she'd recently learned to grab. When he opened the door, he found himself face to face with an older Asian couple, the woman elegant in a navy dress, the man distinguished in a pressed suit. Their resemblance to Sophia was unmistakable. "We're looking for Sophia Chen," the woman said in accented English, her eyes immediately going to Luna in Marcus's arms. "We are her parents." Marcus felt Luna tense against him, picking up on the sudden tension in the air. "Sophia," he called softly, never taking his eyes off the couple who had abandoned their daughter when she needed them most. Sophia appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand, and froze completely. "Mom, Dad." "Sophia," her mother said, stepping forward hesitantly. We saw the news, the good news, about you and Mr. Thornfield." Dr. Robert Chen, Sophia's father, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "We thought it was time we met our granddaughter." The silence stretched painfully until Luna, oblivious to the adult tensions, reached toward the strangers with curiosity. "Hi," she said brightly, one of her newest words. "She's beautiful," Mrs. Chen whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. "She looks like you did at that age, Sophia." "Why now?" Sophia's voice was carefully controlled. 2 years, Mom, 2 years of silence. Luna's first word, first steps, first everything. You missed all of it." "We were wrong," Dr. Chen said simply. "We were proud, stubborn, and wrong." Marcus shifted Luna to his other arm, ready to protect Sophia from further hurt if necessary, but something in her parents' bearing suggested genuine remorse. "Come in," Sophia said finally, stepping aside. "But understand, this is my family now. Marcus and Luna, they're my family." In the living room, Mrs. Chen, Margaret, sat carefully on the edge of the sofa, watching Luna with undisguised longing. Dr. Chen examined the family photos on the mantel, pausing at one of Marcus, Sophia, and Luna at Luna's first birthday party. "You look happy," he observed quietly to Sophia. "I am happy. We are happy." Luna, never one to tolerate adult conversation that didn't include her, wiggled down from Marcus's arms and toddled over to Margaret. She stopped just out of reach, studying this new person with serious consideration. "Hi, baby," Margaret said softly in Mandarin, then switched to English. "I'm your grandmother." Luna tilted her head, processing this information, then surprised everyone by stepping forward and patting Margaret's knee. "Nai Nai," she said, testing the Mandarin word she'd somehow recognized. Margaret burst into tears. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm your Nai Nai." "How does she know that word?" Sophia asked, bewildered. "Mrs. Rodriguez next door speaks some Mandarin," Marcus explained. "She's been teaching Luna a few words. I thought you knew." Dr. Chen approached slowly and knelt down to Luna's level. "And I'm your ye," he said gently. Luna considered this, then shocked everyone by saying clearly, "Ye, nai nai," before clapping her hands at her own cleverness. "She's brilliant," Dr. Chen said, his professional reserve cracking as Luna grabbed his finger and tried to lead him toward her toy box. "Gets it from her mother," Marcus said quietly, watching Sophia's defenses begin to soften as she saw her parents interact with Luna. Over the next hour, the story came out. How Margaret and Robert had watched the news coverage of Marcus's press conference, saw their daughter's strength and dignity, realized what they'd thrown away, how they'd spent weeks debating whether they had any right to ask for forgiveness. "We thought we were protecting our reputation, our family's honor," Margaret explained while Luna showed her a picture book, "but we destroyed our family instead." "You chose pride over love," Sophia said, but her voice had lost its edge. "Yes," Dr. Chen admitted, "and we've regretted it every day since." Luna, growing bored with the adult conversation, toddled over to Marcus and raised her arms. "Dada, up!" As Marcus lifted her, Margaret watched the interaction with wonder. "She really does see you as her father." "He is her father," Sophia said firmly, "in every way that matters." "We can see that," Dr. Chen said, "and we can see why. Mr. Thornfield, thank you for taking care of our daughter and granddaughter." "They take care of me," Marcus replied simply. Luna chose that moment to demonstrate her newest skill, giving kisses. She planted a slobbery kiss on Marcus's cheek, then wiggled to be put down and toddled over to Sophia for another kiss. Then, to everyone's surprise, she walked purposefully to Margaret and offered her a kiss too. "I think," Margaret said through tears, "our granddaughter is more forgiving than we deserve." "Children don't hold grudges," Sophia said softly, "but trust has to be rebuilt." "We understand," Dr. Chen said. "We'd like to try, if you'll let us. We'd like to be part of Luna's life, part of your life again." Sophia looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. Whatever she decided, he would support. "Slowly," Sophia said finally, "and you have to understand that Marcus isn't going anywhere. We're getting married, and Luna will have his name too." "We wouldn't expect anything else," Margaret said. "We just want the chance to be grandparents, to be family again." Luna, apparently deciding the adults had talked enough, began singing her version of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," which sounded more like "Tinkle, Tinkle, La La La," but was enthusiastically performed. For the first time in 2 years, 4 generations of families sat together in one room, healing beginning in the space between hurt and hope, bridged by the innocent love of a little girl who knew only that she suddenly had more people to love her. 3 years after their wedding, the Thornfield house buzzed with the cheerful chaos of a growing family. Luna, now 4 years old and wise beyond her years, stood on a step stool at the kitchen counter, carefully arranging flowers in a vase for their anniversary dinner. "Mama, is this pretty for the special dinner?" she asked, holding up a slightly lopsided bouquet of roses and daisies. "It's perfect, sweetheart," Sophia replied, bouncing 10-month-old James on her hip while stirring pasta sauce. "Daddy will love it," James babbled happily, reaching chubby hands toward everything within his limited grasp. He had Marcus's gray eyes and Sophia's determined chin, and according to Luna, he was the best baby brother in the whole world, but also very messy. "James, no!" Luna said sternly as her brother tried to grab her flower arrangement. "These are special anniversary flowers. You have your own toys." Marcus walked into the kitchen, loosening his tie after a long day at the office, and was immediately tackled around the legs by Luna. "Daddy, look what I made!" She dragged him to see her floral masterpiece. "Beautiful work, princess," Marcus said, lifting her for a hug. "Almost as beautiful as your mama." "That's what you always say," Luna giggled, but she beamed with pride. The dining room walls told the story of their blended family. Photos of Isabella and Aria held places of honor alongside pictures of Luna's first steps, James's birth, family vacations, and everyday moments that had become precious memories. Marcus had learned that love didn't replace, it expanded, creating room for everyone who had shaped their hearts. During dinner, Luna entertained them with stories from preschool. James made an artistic mess with his mashed sweet potatoes, and Marcus and Sophia stole glances at each other across the table, still amazed by the life they'd built together. "Tell me about the day you and Mama got married," Luna said suddenly, a question that had become one of her favorites. "Again?" Sophia laughed. "We just told you that story last week." "But I like it," Luna insisted, "especially the part where I was the best flower girl ever." "You threw more petals at the photographer than on the ground," Marcus pointed out with amusement, "because I wanted him to be pretty too." James, not to be left out of the conversation, banged his spoon against his high chair and added his own commentary of enthusiastic babbling. "What about before that?" Luna asked. "How did you and Mama meet? Was it at the playground, the grocery store?" Marcus and Sophia exchanged a look filled with years of inside jokes and shared memories. "We met in a store," Sophia said carefully. "Mama was shopping for clothes for a very special little girl. For me." "For you," Marcus confirmed. "Mama was looking at the most beautiful pink dress, describing it to a baby who was about your size now." "And then what happened?" Marcus smiled, remembering that moment that had changed everything. "Daddy heard Mama talking to her baby and he thought that Mama loves her little girl so much, so he decided to help." "How?" "He bought all the pretty clothes so the Mama and her baby could have them." Sophia continued the familiar story. Luna's eyes grew wide, as they did every time. "All of them?" "All of them," Marcus confirmed. "Because sometimes when you see something beautiful, you want to make sure it gets the love it deserves. Like how you love us?" "Exactly like how we love you," Sophia said, wiping James's face clean. As they finished dinner and moved to the living room for their usual evening routine, Luna curled up between her parents on the couch, while James played with blocks on the carpet. "Daddy," Luna said thoughtfully, "I'm glad you heard Mama talking that day." "Me too, Princess. Me too. Will you and Mama always love each other?" "Always," Marcus said without hesitation. "Love like ours doesn't go away. It just grows bigger to make room for more people to love." "Like James." "Like James," Sophia agreed. "And like Nai and Yeye, and Mrs. Rodriguez and everyone who's part of our family." Luna seemed satisfied with this answer and snuggled closer to Marcus. "I love our family." "So do we, sweetheart," Marcus said, looking around at the beautiful chaos of their evening routine, toys scattered across expensive rugs, James's happy babbling, Sophia reading work emails while simultaneously singing Luna's favorite lullaby. This wasn't the life he'd planned, but it was infinitely better than anything he could have imagined. 3 years ago, he'd been a broken man wandering aimlessly through a department store. Tonight, he was surrounded by laughter, sticky fingers, and the kind of love that multiplied rather than divided. As they carried sleepy children upstairs for bedtime stories and final hugs, Marcus caught sight of their reflection in the hallway mirror, a family complete not because they were perfect, but because they had chosen each other every single day. Outside, snow began to fall gently, just as it had that first night when he'd heard 5 words that changed his life. "I'm just looking, sir." Now, looking at his wife tucking their daughter into bed while their son slept peacefully in his crib, Marcus knew he'd found everything he'd never known he was looking for. Sometimes the most beautiful families are born from the most unexpected encounters, built on foundation of kindness and sealed with the courage to love again.